Hey, Boy Manning here. Welcome to the Garden Report. Celtics drop the first game of the Eastern Conference Finals, 118-107. Closer than it appears, especially when it comes to the third quarter.
That doesn't tell the whole story, right?
39-14. That's the real score that matters. In that third quarter, Celtics led by 8 at half, and it all crumbled over those 12 minutes. We're going to talk about it. Josue Pavon right with me here inside FTX, formerly American Airlines. The Heat grabbing control out of half. The physicality, the transition game, the speed that they played with, and the defensive tenacity to force 8 turnovers on the Celtics there. 2 of 15 shooting. Those are the two numbers that really mattered there.
Yeah, especially in that third quarter, Bobby. I just feel like they were anticipating a lot of what the Celtics were going to do offensively. Eric Spoelstra talked about it after the game, how at halftime, a lot of the players, they just talked amongst themselves. Spoelstra did little, they didn't have to direct them as to what they needed to do, what kind of change they needed to do. But guys, as you can imagine, like P.J. Tucker were very vocal, Jimmy Butler, everyone sort of putting in their 2 cents, and then they went out and executed. And I feel like the Celtics just weren't prepared for that. I think they knew, obviously, Jayson Tatum is the head of the snake, so to speak, there. Without Marcus, without Al, there were certain matchups that they could attack. But I also feel like the Miami Heat just came out with a sense of urgency, an energy, of effort, that the Celtics just couldn't match in that third quarter. And, of course, Tatum, he had, 7 turnovers through 3 quarters? I mean, that didn't help the issue, right? The
6 in the third alone. Yeah.
6 in the third alone, excuse me, right? Yeah, well, 7, exactly, yeah, 7. So 1 in the first half. The other 6 all came in that third quarter, and it was just a recipe for disaster for the Celtics, as they just couldn't put together any type of offensive run. 0 for 6, a couple of free throws to go, but in the end, 14 points in the third quarter? That's never going to cut it against this team, Bobby, especially a Miami Heat team that's been there before, been to the NBA Finals, someone like Jimmy Butler who's itching to get back and get that title, and the Celtics are in their way right now, and they came out with that type of energy, that type of tenacity, that energy in the third quarter that just carried over into the fourth, I feel like. And halfway through, when the Celtics tried to come back, it was too little too late once again.
Yeah, 22-2 was the run that started the third. Jimmy Butler's handprints all over it, especially the last 2 buckets, stealing passes from Tatum, shooting the gap. Said Spo doesn't like when he does it, but every once in a while he sees an opportunity, he jumps at it, and had those breakout dunks. I feel like there's nothing more emblematic of a good Heat win, and some of the best Heat wins over the Celtics over the last couple of years that Butler's been there than him chasing down a steal, getting in the passing lane, and going out for those explosive dunks, and that's about as loud as this place got here. A couple other moments in the third, Brown running full court, just turning it over. He said he needed to be better. Tatum put it on his own shoulders after the game for that performance, and Ime, to the same tune, said, our other guys, the young guys especially, were fine. Peyton Pritchard, Aaron Nesmith stepping into some extra minutes. It was Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum who needed to be better.
Yeah, and the Miami Heat knew that. I feel like they targeted those guys defensively. The offense, those stops was what led into their offense, getting into open spaces the way Jimmy Butler likes to execute. But guys like Tyler Hero who can put the ball on the floor, he didn't make things any easier for the Celtics as well. I felt like he did a good job in the first half of setting the tone, finding his offense, and then that also carried over in the second half. So the Celtics have to make adjustments here. Look, I get it. It's not easy when you don't have your 2 emotional leaders, your 2 anchors on the defense, and Al Horford and Marcus Smart, but the effort is a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, I don't think that had anything to do with it.
Exactly. Like, it comes down to effort, and that's what the Miami Heat just pretty much exposed them, so to speak, in that third quarter. And it was just too big of a hole for the Celtics to climb out of.
Yeah, one of the worst quarters all year, I think I'll say it. We've watched some of the bad ones from the first half.
Especially the calendar year. The new Celtics, this wasn't it. This is easily, that third quarter was easily the worst quarter by the Celtics by a mile.
It was ugly, and it put the Heat in that mode again where they're swaggering, they got that energy,
when you got
they're
Jimmy
confident.
dancing like that, when Jimmy's dancing like that, feeling himself.
Bam.
12 of 17. Bam with the Parton shots after the game. What he said about using the term that Jaylen Brown likes to use about the energy shifting. And
yeah, here's what Bam said here. You can decide for yourself.
That makes it have those strong second half runs.
I don't know. I guess we just wake up. I don't know. The energy really shift in the third. Guys start making shots, and then it's like a snowball effect.
So this is a group that I think feels like it has something on these Celtics.
Yeah.
I think they're looking at 2020 and saying, we all know what happened there, more than the Celtics are looking back and saying, we remember what happened there. Because the team's changed, the core pieces are still there, but they're so much better. And the tough part is we saw in the first half how they'd evolved past that. They were tough to score on. Heat were really struggling to get in there and find paint looks. They were throwing up a lot of jumpers. They faced double-digit deficits in that first half. And the Celtics won 3 out of the 4 quarters. Doesn't matter in the end, but they showed that they've kind of evolved past that 2020 East Finals, save for the one quarter that decided it. And
Yeah, well, they have the role players for that type of team, right? I mean, everyone knows what they're supposed to do when they're out there. And again, the backcourt.
Rob was great tonight.
Yeah, Rob was great, and I was happy to see him. I mean, obviously that his play deteriorated towards the second half just because his stamina and his health isn't quite there yet. But
He had adjusted well. They kind of got under
yeah,
him.
that's true too. Especially Gabe Vincent, those couple steals down low.
Yep.
Max Struss got going offensively, of course, but these are the backcourt this is the same backcourt we talked about a few days ago, Bobby, where they have weapons that the Celtics just gonna have to do a better job of defending. But without Marcus, it does make things tougher. Again, these are guys that can put the ball on the floor. Tyler Hero, Gabe Vincent, and when Jimmy gets going the way he did, this 41-point performance that he did, it's contagious. And those guys, they feed off of that, and especially the defensive stops. So again, that third quarter was a recipe for disaster. Turnovers from Jayson Tatum. I mean, the Miami Heat will capitalize on that every day throughout this series. It just can't happen. They have to clean that up. But the Celtics have done a really good job of responding to losses, especially in the postseason. They're 3-0 in that regard. So
Jimmy stat.
I'm expecting. That's right. Shout out to Jimmy. You pointed that out. I'm excited to see how they respond, how they punch back, because it's going to truly show where they stand and where that heart is, if they have what it takes to essentially make it to the finals. Look, the Miami Heat are not going to make this thing any easier for the Celtics. They're going to have to steal one before we head back to Boston.
I'm happy to be in Miami. Tough
First
to crush your
timer
mood.
out here. We gotta do something fun, Bobby.
We'll have a scenic shot.
after we work, of course.
We'll have a scenic shot tomorrow for sure. It's tough to kill your mood even after a bad loss for the Celtics out here. Great place to be. Josue Pavon, A-Sherrod Blakely, Bobby Manning, we're all here in Miami for games 1 and 2. Celtics trying to bounce back.
I'm going to have to ask my boy Chris Haynes where he had that shot. What was it, last week, I think it was? He had his stand-up when he was covering the Heat series. I'm going to see if we can find out that same spot right by the water. Bayside, maybe it was. We'll see. I'm going to ask him about that.
We're not too far from there. Josue Pavon, Bobby Manning, we're brought to you by Calm. Calm.com/Garden. Get 40% off a premium subscription. Might not need it down here. Back in Boston, though, you're going to need it after this one. Meditation, sleep sounds, all the rest. And HelloFresh, back at it. Feeding you on these game nights. You don't always have time to cook before tip-off. A little later in this round, but still, you're getting back from work late. You got a long day. Pre-prepped ingredients, instructions. It's all there for you, and it's easy, and it's fresh, and it's good, and it's arriving right at your doorstep. And you're going to get 16 free. 3 free gifts. HelloFresh.com/playoff16. HelloFresh.com/playoff16. Next video, we're going to talk about Al Horford, COVID protocols, big news pregame here tonight. We'll react to that. And, of course, subscribe for all our coverage here in Miami. Celtics All Access, CLNS Media, and CLNSmedia.com.